It's time now to welcome you to the Real or No Reels podcast, featuring Tommy Wires and Mr. Roo, produced by Mr. J. And without further ado, it's time to get real.
What's going on, podcast world? Welcome to the Real and No Reels podcast. This is a special episode we have this week. We have some special guests going on. My name is Mr. Roo. I'll be one of your co-hosts today.
I am Tommy Wires, your other co-host on our favorite show of the week, Real or No Reels. We got a special guest tonight. We got a producer, not Mr. J tonight. Why don't you tell him who you are?
I'm Chris Cameron, and I'm filling in for Jay.
He's better
Mr.
than filling in Jay.
He might have had an accident. I don't know.
That's right. Hey,
If you can't find him, I had nothing to do with it.
if you can't find him, you'll be here next week.
We got
Yeah, but
special
I'm
guests
available.
here tonight. We got some good guests here tonight. We got Andy Beningo.
Hey,
out of
what's up?
Michigan.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas.
Thank you for coming.
New Hampshire comedian and just newly retired teacher, Bill Douglas.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Oh, yes. So
man.
today's episode's mostly going to be talking about comedy and the different realms that we are. The five of us are comedians. Andy is a national touring headliner comedian.
Yeah.
He's also a cruise ship comic.
Yeah, you say it with a negative.
No.
He's also this thing.
no, I'm trying to
it's,
think as we go.
Yeah, it's a good way to pay the bills, fellas. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's
yeah,
right.
no, that must be awesome doing it on the cruise ships and
Well, it's great. You get to see the world, and you get to make people laugh, and
Right.
so it's not a bad little racket.
wow, that's fantastic. And how about you, Mr. Douglas?
Well, I'm got roasted at my retirement party in the faculty room, and one of the teachers said, if everybody's seen Bill live, it's really not that different than his classroom. He's the oldest guy in the room. You're filled with insincere laughter, and you leave with more questions than you came with. So,
Those
my
teachers, man.
classroom and the comedy stage.
Those teachers might be worse than the crowd sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I hear the stories.
Oh, yeah. So I met Bill at an open mic. Despite what he said, one of the nicest comics out there. He was one of the oldest in the room, though. He's not wrong about that part.
He's the best, man. Just
Yeah.
a good dude, and that's what you like. You like working with people like that.
Positive people are huge. That's what,
Super funny.
Yeah, he was hosting an open mic that I've been to like 6 times. Cameron was there all 6 times, and they kept asking, "Are you a comic? Are you a comic?" Finally went up.
I just collect tickets.
Yeah.
The two of them couldn't have been nicer, for like breaking my ice at that mic.
My first interaction with Bill was he took me aside and he was like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you," asked me all kinds of questions, very sincere. Really just kind of, I didn't know what this was like because I never had the experience of people being so kind and polite to me. He was hosting the show at the Winner's Circle. It was really nice. It was fun. And from that point forward, Bill, you've always been such a inspiration to me. And you've also been someone that I talk about a lot to people about, how well community can be when you find the right circle of people, and that also includes you, Andy.
Yeah.
You've been incredible supporter for Sean and myself.
Oh, yeah.
It's being,
Of course.
yeah.
There's nothing better than talking with comics. And I remember the first time I met Bill, we were working the Ruby Room. He came up and he said, "Hey, can I borrow $20?" So what are you talking about? He goes, "I'm a teacher." I go, "Okay, sure." But no, again, just I love working with good people and funny people. And Bill was a guy that we had a lot in common originally because it was my first time to New England.
Yeah.
And he kind of mentioned that myself and a friend of ours, Kate Brindle, we were trying to do stand-up in all 50 states.
Yeah.
And his eyes kind of got wide. He goes, "That's what I'm trying to do." So it's been fun just trying to, do different venues and see different parts of the country.
Which is
and,
awesome.
just a good dude. So,
So much fun.
happy to be here with
But
you.
Andy
guys.
and I have been talking about exactly what you said. We just like surrounding ourselves with class people, and that's
Yeah.
what we're able to do. There's just a lot of really classy
Yeah.
comedians that we spend time with. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you kind of weed them out, like
Yeah.
not weed them out, but you can feel
Focus
that
on who
vibe
you-
pretty
yeah.
fast.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's especially comics. Everybody's got different lifestyles. You know what I mean? You get some
sure,
of these
yeah,
younger
for sure.
guys that they want to go out drinking. And you're like,
Right.
I'm 40 now, man. I just want to take a nap. I just want to sleep. You know, and so it's like different parts. So it's you just try to find people that you have a lot in common with. I think, and
Right, yeah.
So resonates with me so
Yeah,
much.
if you're gonna be on the
It's
road with
unbelievable.
somebody, you want it to be fun, right? You want
Yeah.
to have similar like interest and stuff
Yeah.
for it to be like a good trip.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about finding an opener, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like you want to find somebody who's great on stage, but somebody who's not like a pain in the ass to deal with on
Oh,
stage.
God,
You know,
no, yeah.
So it's like sometimes you get one or the other,
Right.
and so it's when you find kind of somebody who can do both, like
Yeah.
Bill and Sean and,
Yeah.
and yourself. It's nice to have that weekend where you're just
is.
having fun, telling jokes, but also just
100%.
getting a hang. You know?
Road tripping in the car.
Yeah, nothing better. You know.
Yeah, you got some guy open micing for you. He's doing keg stands, and he's going out to all the clubs afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of funny though, because it's kind of like what we have tried to design the show for, just keeping our circle kind of in the same realm of what you're talking about, right? We're not gonna, we're not shutting anyone down that is in comedy that we don't have the same interests in, but we do definitely have a bond in this comedy world, between me and Sean. And some of our other episodes, we talk about mental health, and we just talk about how this works for us so well, and like what we struggle through. I don't know about Sean, but it's definitely something that's very important to us.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you find those things that you slowly cut out, you start to realize that it makes it easier to do comedy when you have less and less of those hurdles to get over.
Absolutely. I feel like, and somebody said this to me one time, and it was like pretty profound. It's like usually you go, like the audiences go to comedians so they can laugh and forget about their problems. But there's also something therapeutic about being a comedian and getting people to laugh. You know what I mean? It's
Mental therapy.
It's sometimes comedians need the audience just as much as the audience needs the comedian.
100%. Yeah, I've never heard that like
Yeah.
that, but that's true.
Yeah, I worked with a comic last night. And I'm not, sure you guys have all felt this way at some point in time, but they said, you ever been to a show where you crush, you think like the 200 or 300 people you just perform for, like, will remember your name. He's like, you get in your car and you feel lonely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's like, you're driving home listening to the music, like, no one, like, I just did a job.
I think I told you that the other night. I go, there's nothing better than like, it's just a weird thing where you crush it for 400 people, and then an hour later you're eating alone in an Applebee's. You know what I mean? You're like, what's happening right now? This is where it is. So it can be a weird thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's true. It's true.
So I met Andy from the Winner's Circle open mic.
Yeah.
You did?
I didn't know him. He went up.
That's crazy.
Crushed his 5-minute set. I looked up his name immediately. I'm like, this MF. I'm like, he's not supposed to be at an open mic,
This Rolls Royce to
Walk over to meet him, kind of show him, like, is this you? And he's like, yeah, I'm just kind of like popping into open mic. Like, to see like a headliner that travels, and then like you look for small rooms and mics to like kind of like fill in your off days, or just like to get up on stage.
I still love it, man. I'm still just as hungry as I was day one. Like Bill mentioned earlier, we had a show at the Ruby Room, and we had talked before, and he goes, I hope I don't insult you by asking, but there's an open mic. Before he could even finish the sentence, I'm like, I'm there. Let's go. Let's do it. I love it because that's where you go and meet comics, and everybody's at different levels, and it's fun to just watch comedians. I still like just watching people I haven't seen before. I love performing in rooms I haven't been. So the Winter Circle was just, it was such a cool room, and we got to meet and hang out, get to see, comics like Justin McKinney
was
and all
there,
these other guys that are, beasts and have been great comics forever. So it's fun. Those shows are great because there's just different levels.
Right.
We talked about this. It was like maybe it was one of your first times on stage, right? At the Winter Circle?
It was I think my first or second time performing, but I probably been there 9 times, and I was like just eating a cheeseburger in the back, kind of like I don't know the group, because it is like Chris has I think 400 appearances at the Winter Circle.
Wow.
Right?
Not yet.
Close?
Close.
Yeah, so Chris
Close.
was there at the very first one.
Yeah.
I'm the third highest.
And they keep count. So you saw the
That's
wall.
so
They
cool.
keep
Yeah.
count.
Yep.
I made it to the point where I got my picture on the wall.
There you go.
But Chris, was one of the guys that like, you're here every week, you must be a comic. And I'm like, nah,
Like, do it. Just do it.
Just go up, yeah. Well, like I was telling you the other night, it's fun to watch it because it was like one of your first times ever, and then you did the set the other night, and you can see the growth. Even,
I appreciate
even if you
that.
don't feel like it, it's you're more confident. Your jokes are faster, so it's fun. That's another thing. It's fun working with people is you just see how people just.
Andy's in the
slowly
back
figure it out,
grading me. He's like, how much did this kid grow in 2 years?
No.
Yeah, I call the open mics where I do my mental gym.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's where I exercise. You got to
absolutely.
work it out, and then you're lucky enough to get on shows, and you get out there and you start telling jokes, and people start laughing more and more at your jokes. You write them better and better. It's no better feeling, honestly,
Well,
as a
it's
comedian.
interesting watching, Andy in a paid show where there's people that are paying to watch comedy and he crushes, but it's also interesting to see him at a little bitty open mic.
Right.
Nobody knows him. There's not that many people there. And almost immediately they love him and they're with him like that fast. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to some of the humor you guys choose to do for your humor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys. You've chose. I mean, just the articles that I read. You choose to do a clean comedy. You try to use everything that's kind of relatable, family style.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a conscious choice. It's not like I sit down and I write something and I go, "Oh, that's not clean. I'm not going to do it." It's not like that. It's just naturally that's what I find funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when I started, it was like it's funny how my act has changed as my life has changed. Like when I was a kid, it was all I live at home with my parents.
Yeah.
Right.
What's going on with dorm room, guys? It's like that college cafeteria sucks or whatever. It's like so, but that's all you know.
Right. Yeah.
And then you kind of slowly grow up a little bit, and so now, being married and having kids, I feel like that's the majority of what life is. So it's like I don't even consider myself a comic as much as I'm a reporter now. It's like the kids do something weird, and I go, "Oh, there's a bit." And perfect.
So the dorm room jokes don't work on the cruise
not
ship?
for me
They don't work on
anymore.
the cruise ship?
No, they don't. Yeah. So it's
I was talking to a
interesting.
comedian last night that we were with, Andy, and he was saying, talking about what was your first comedy about, what you know.
Right.
And he had read from somebody, there's like 3 youths. We go through 3 youths when we are youths.
Okay.
Up until maybe mid-20s. Then we get married, have a family, and you've got this young family, you're a youthful family. And then when you retire, and where's your life going there? It's like you start over.
And then you
What am I
die.
doing as a youth with a family and
die,
then
Bill.
retirement?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in the retirement thing. What do I do? What do I do?
Spend all your money while you still have it.
Right.
Give it to Chris.
There you go.
Definitely give it to me.
That's what I was going to ask. Are you excited to see kind of what now that you've retired? Are you excited about like this next stage of like where your material is going to go, where your act is going to go?
I'm a little because I've been doing full-time comedy, full-time teaching, and the teaching is the useful,
Yep.
and the comedy is the fun hobby.
Right.
And now when teaching's basically gone, am I going to feel
Right.
useful?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
fun to
Yeah.
do
No,
comedy. People,
right.
but am I really being useful as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
teacher? Every kid wouldn't say I'm useful, but a lot of
Yeah.
people would. So I'm excited where everything is going.
Yeah.
It's good you have a hobby because I feel like a lot of people that do retire don't have a hobby.
Yeah.
Well, those are the ones that stay at the job too long because they don't know what's next.
They don't want. They're
Like
afraid.
Tom
They are
Brady.
afraid.
Yeah, like Tom Brady, exactly.
Come out of retirement for no reason.
One of my friend I went to high school with, he's not able to retire quite yet, but he goes, my retirement plan can't be watching TV.
No,
'Cause
you
that's
gotta
what my
actually-
dad
yeah.
seemed to be.
Right.
And
Right.
he just never really thrived at all.
Right.
So my retirement plan can't be watching TV.
So
No,
one of the things I want to talk about in retirement, Bill, is I know Andy you've done comedy in all 50 states.
Yeah. That was it started off as kind of like a bucket list thing, I was like, maybe when I'm like 70 or 80, I'll hit all of them, and then eventually I just started hitting, I don't know, I got lucky and I started traveling and stuff.
That's
and then
awesome.
right in the pandemic, I kind of glanced at the map and I was kind of looking through my notes and I'm like, I only have like 5 or 6 left.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm like, I might as well just make a conscious effort. So a lot of them were up here in New England,
Yeah.
So,
Those are the ones you were missing?
Yeah, New
Okay.
Hampshire and Mass, Vermont, Rhode Island.
Where all the cruise ships come in. Wow. That's what,
Yeah, right. Go figure, right? You'd think it'd be something, but yeah. So we made the trip, and then, like I said, nice to meet new friends.
awesome.
And see new
Yeah.
places, so.
Bill, with your retirement now, no more teaching on the slate. You've hit a
I'm
good
gonna
number
be
of
doing-
states, right?
I'm going to be doing consulting in my district, but way part-time, very limited.
And what's your number of states of comedy so far?
26.
26.
And I'm from Wisconsin, so between New Hampshire and Wisconsin, there's not much left to hit unless I go way out of my way. So I've got the easy ones. Now I'm going to just have to make more of a trek. Except for Michigan, but I know somebody in Michigan.
We know somebody there.
It's gonna pull some
He's a pretty good
strings here.
comedian. So.
Next time I'm in Michigan.
So with for me, I'm only in New England. I'm waiting to break out in New England. But Tommy is in a position now since he started comedy where he travels for work. So he's nailed like 5 or 6 states off from hitting open mics, getting on shows.
That's great.
I think I'm up to 8 now. Yeah, I just did a open mic in Fresno, California. That was pretty awesome.
How was the room? It was good? And
It was a
stuff?
cool little room. It was a little Italian restaurant.
Awesome, man.
And the back half of it had like curtains, and it was full. It was like a tip show where they just do
great.
tips, and they were really awesome people. It was a headliner up front, and then a couple features, and then a whole list of open micers.
Cool.
Because I reached out to the gentleman earlier, and I spoke to him. He said, he's like, I'll throw you on sooner than later. So he put me literally first up after the feature.
Oh, perfect.
And it was a 3-minute spot. He ended up giving me 5. So it was super cool. I enjoyed doing that.
Did you feel like your material translated? Because that's the one thing. Even today, I still get nervous. Like, it's a very Midwest kind of sweet act. Hey, my wife, my kids.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, is it gonna work here? Is it gonna work there? But did you find it?
70%.
Yeah,
It was about 70%, and it was really kind of like a hairy line joke about just it's something that doesn't hit in California like it would hit up in New Hampshire.
Sure, okay. Yep,
So, but I do find that, but I have done a couple states where I've told Sean this. I walk into the room and I feel like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm just like, and like everybody's like, man, that set was killer. Oh, you're from Boston, you're from New England, and I'm just like, yeah.
I ask him the same thing. I'm very curious. Like, how does like the jokes translate? He's like, man, like it was killer. Or, I had this great set. Everyone switched, Instagram handles. And you walk out there with 5 new followers and stuff, and like, and that networking with comics seems to be like a thing. As far as like, hey, when you're in New York, hit me up. Hey, when
absolutely. So I mean, that's a fun thing too, because like we hung out in Boston and stuff, and then it was like I randomly was on a ship, and it's like, hey, let's go grab lunch or whatever.
Yes.
It's like fun to just kill time with other comics and goof off. So
For those thinking, where did I take him for lunch in Boston? I did not go to Quincy Market. We went to the North End, and he loved it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Maybe the best meal I ever had in my life.
And he's on cruise ships, people. So to say you got the best meal.
Yeah.
Did you get any?
Me?
Yeah, after the date.
Oh, yeah.
Take someone in the North End.
It was the first date. It was the first one.
I don't want to rush into things.
No. He was videotaping all the food like in Quincy Market. He's like, this is like died and gone.
Well, it's funny because we walked through it, and I was like, this is like heaven. They got pizza, they got lobster rolls. You're like, this is trash. Like, nobody eats here.
No one
except for
from
tourists.
Boston would eat.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's all tourists, right?
Yeah, right. Right. So when I got into comedy, one of the things that one of my mentors said was, he's like, be prepared to spend 2 hours in your car for a 15-minute set. Yeah. And that's something that the 3 of us did the other night. But talking to Bill, I believe a couple weeks ago, you did like a 600-mile each way trip for one show, right?
And didn't, for a Saturday show, and I didn't take time off school.
Dedicated man.
1,200-mile trip.
Yeah, but there's 18 people that showed up. Don't forget that.
So
and
for those
9 of them liked me.
hey, you're batting 50-50. That's actually not
that's
bad.
Good. That's good odds.
That's a solid 5%, man. I like that.
So Andy, you started young with comedy.
Yeah, so I started pretty much right out of the gate when I was 18, but it was at I went to Central Michigan University, so they would have like open mics around campus. So I'd only do like 2 or 3 shows a year, and it was very, like, again, a very safe space. It was all college kids, so that was your whole act. You're like, I'm buying and selling books back. Hey, this professor, And so when I turned 21, I could legally get into comedy clubs, and then you tried doing the same act for people, and you kind of realize like, okay, I gotta work on stuff. But same thing, I used to drive like 2 hours for 3 minutes. There was a club called Dr. Grins in Grand Rapids that my friend and a friend of mine, Greg Amrose, and I used to go to, and it was fantastic because they give you like 3 or 5 minutes of comedy, but then you could watch the show. So it would be guys like Eddie Gosling, if you've ever heard of him before, a very funny guy, used to write for Tosh. Bill Dwyer, Ted Alexandro, Greg Giraldo, all these guys would come through, and so it'd be like It was the same thing. I'd be sitting like a little fly on the wall, just asking these guys questions.
That's
and,
awesome.
99% of them were cool to sit down and chat with and
that's
pick
awesome.
their brain, and that's how you kind of start figuring things out.
So you knew you wanted to do this when you were in college?
Yeah, pretty much. I remember when I graduated high school, my parents were like, "So what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be a comedian." They're kind of like, "Well, maybe go to college and get a backup plan, just to be safe, And
as a dad, I can hear that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like a kid saying you want to be in a band or do a slam poetry.
Right,
you just go, well, how do you? We're not show business people. Nobody knows. And so I always had it. So it was like college. I liked it. But it was like I didn't, I take it as seriously as I probably should have, because it was like, this is what I really want to do.
Of course, yeah.
So when I turned 21, like I said, I started hitting the clubs, and so by the time I sort of graduated, I was already kind of featuring a little bit.
Yeah.
So then I was actually studying to be a teacher, and we kind of laughed about that.
Nice,
and
then,
nice. So luckily I just had a couple of nice people, nice mentors that kind of took me on the road maybe earlier than I should have,
Hey,
but
man,
but it's
hit
that
the
kind of
ground.
just drop you in the deep end and let let you figure it out. So just was always appreciative of all those opportunities.
Did you embrace the pressure of being dropped in? Like, did you? I'm sure you're nervous and everything kicks in.
I mean,
because
I'm still nervous. I'm just a very twitchy person in general, so it shouldn't really work. But it was again, you have good shows, bad shows, and it's just a matter of figuring out, well, why did that work? What did I want to
Sure.
It's all a process. It takes years, which is
hard
to stay patient. But
what do they say? Every year you're in comedy,
This is your birth year.
Yeah. So I mean, legit. You're almost a 20-year-old.
I can almost drink, man. It's good.
Sean's on his feet. He might be on a tricycle.
I just started walking.
I'm still in diapers.
Yeah, it's
all right.
very much like professional sports. Like, it's no different than playing hockey, right? It's like the more you skate, the more you figure it out. But unfortunately, you gotta kind of embarrass yourself in front of strangers to get good. So it's a lot of years of just eating it. But there's also like a you're not very self-aware, because I remember coming back from one of those open mics one time and calling my friend and be like, dude, I got to laugh tonight. And they were like, what? You guys, someone laughed at your stuff? Like, it was such a big deal that one joke worked, So
one thing Sean always proclaims to me is never say no.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that opportunity in front of you, don't ever say no to it. And you just basically said the same thing. Like, you took you on early, much earlier than, you thought you should have.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that I worked with, they were very generous. It would be like, okay, it's like, so working with a guy who used to write for the Tonight Show. So it's like, if this kid goes up and eats it,
that's awesome.
I can cover this. So it would be a little bit of grace. Hey, do 20, but if you flame out at 15 or 12, I'll pick up the other. If it's going well, feel free to stretch out. And it's the same kind of philosophy that I have with people that I work with. It's like, I've been doing it long enough to where it's like, okay, if you're struggling and you want to get off, fine. And so it's nice to have that sort of grace.
Support too. I mean, having that support and someone being able to do that for you, it's awesome. I've had that opportunity with some of the people I work with, and it's relieving when you're brand new.
So Andy, we were talking to you about how you started off young, and you knew you were going to keep up with comedy. Bill, you went the teaching career. At what point in your teaching career did you decide, I'm going to give this a shot?
I was 53 in San Francisco, and I saw Kevin Nealon at Cobb's Comedy Club, and I remember thinking, I don't usually go to see comedians. I go see musicians. And it's like, he doesn't have a guitar. He's just going to come and talk, and all these people are here. And I'm thinking, what would I talk about? And I imagined, the next day walking to the science workshop, what would I talk about as a comedian? I got so transfixed, I walked right by the museum. And I came up with, I would tell stories that my friend, the health teacher, would tell. And then I did comedy that summer, and I told his.
That's awesome.
It's about the first two. I just did those the first two times. Like, wait a second, I can't keep telling Kurt's health jokes. It's like, how do I write a joke? I gotta write a joke.
Yeah. Sitting at your first comedy show, I know for me it was one of my most favorite comedians. I'm not gonna say his name, but he knows who he is. I do. I was just so impressed that there wasn't a 30 to 1 minute stretch over the course of 45 minutes that the crowd was not laughing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how does this person remember so many of these things in so many chronological orders of so many funny punchlines?
Oh, yeah.
I was 15 years old. I just became an electrical apprentice, and he's an electrician, and I'm like, this is possible. This is a real guy up here doing this.
Right.
And it's something that I always had in the back of my brain that I wanted to try. And I
He's
know
putting in a ceiling fan during the day.
Seriously.
And he's crushing in front of 100
He
people
was.
at night. Oh, yeah, I
And
know
we
he
got
at the
Applebee's
Kowloon.
alone after the show, so yeah.
at the Kowloon, right? Yeah. I was eating Chinese food and it was done by himself, but that's all right. No, it was good. It was just amazing to me. So, I'm envious in the fact that you started when you were 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
It just really, it can set you off. Like I meet some of these kids at these, around the country at these open mics,
Yeah.
and they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and I'm so impressed by them. Like the biggest thing I do is I go up to them, I make sure I shake their hand. I'm like, stick with this.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are to be doing this right now, because when you get to my age, you're going to have 4 hours worth of comedic material that you could go anywhere, any night of the week, and get on a stage and crush for 20, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's...
That's just the repetition of, they say, though, a lot of people don't stick with it, or like Tony V was one of my mentors, and he's like, if you're not out, 3-4 nights a week, it's hard to take it serious because of the repetition of the people that are out 4 nights a week, trying new jokes and getting on mics, and the reps of like how many times you're on stage per month or per week. So like that was
you got to
big
kind of be
thing.
obsessed with it, you got to kind of basically be obsessed and
Right,
get up
right.
every single night to be decent, and
Yeah.
it's sad because it's like, the same thing. I've known some really funny people, really funny people that they're like, oh, if this guy would have just stuck with it, and
Right.
whether they lost the love of it or just life got in the way,
Yeah.
they stopped doing it, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of
It's not really the family man's life when you're
Yeah.
trying to get out to mics 3 or 4
Yeah.
weeknights, because
Yeah.
most open mics are weeknights.
Right.
Speaking of open mics and stuff like that, Bill, do you remember the first time you got on an open mic and where it was?
I was driving with friends up to a vacation place in Minnesota, and I'd mentioned that was on my bucket list to do comedy. They're like, oh my God. And so there was my wife and friends staying, and they went into town and found there's an open mic in that town. And they said, you should go on. It's like, oh. And so I ended up going on, and, no
What
idea.
did
what
you
I was
have
doing.
written?
And I told Kurt's health stories. And it went pretty well. It's like, oh, I can't keep doing this, I guess, forever. So
Oh, so you did the opposite of me. You actually took your family and stuff.
I first told nobody can watch me except my friend Tom, and there was like,
Yeah.
And I figured worst I can have. In all seriousness, teaching middle school, you are well prepared to bomb. It does not throw me. It does, you want a joke to go, it doesn't go well. I'm like, oh, what do I do now? I don't have 37 years of 12-year-olds going, he's the bomb.
Well, I did open mics for 7 months, an hour away from my house, so I wouldn't run into any friends or family. And Andy, you did yours at your college.
So I
right?
was at college, and I had my friends from high school and roommates, and again, there's just this unself-awareness of just like, hey, I'm a comedian, this is gonna be awesome. And we had a weird thing where it was, because it wasn't like a traditional comedy open mic, it was like open mic, so people would go up and like play instruments. I followed a guy who did a 10-minute poem on death.
Oh,
And just like take the room, and then they're like, "You guys ready to laugh?" I'm like, "Oh God, this is
up, Andy
it.
Beningo.
This is it." So
Thanks,
yeah,
Grim
so
Reaper.
it's so that was the beginning. But yeah, it's like funny because it was like, in college it'd be like a lot of the same people would come to see me, and then they realize like, he's only got like 5 minutes, so we're seeing the same thing over and over.
That's tough.
Right, so because when you're new, you're excited. You invite everybody and everybody and everybody.
You're right.
And you're not that great, but they support you. And then when you actually get good, people are like, "Oh,
I've seen it before."
I got shit I gotta do.
Yes.
I can't make it." So
Yes, no, it happens. I had a crew of people that came to a bunch of my shows. They saw the same stuff, and I tell them now, I'm like, don't come until I have a good one. I'll tell you. I'll tell you when I want you to come.
exactly.
To now.
Yeah, that's a smart.
Well, the thing with like 10 or 15 minute comics, like your set is what's getting you work for a 10 or 15 minute spot.
Yeah. Sure.
And a lot of your friends are like, oh, you're at this place 2 months later, and you're kind of like, well, I'm working on that same 10 or 15 minutes. It's getting me work. Yeah. Like these promoters see it, you're getting the laughs because the crowd is changing. But when your friends are there, they're like,
what's going on?
Yeah, and I'm like,
but
you think like
the 70 people in the room aren't the same again.
No,
That's
exactly.
the thing.
Exactly,
You're
exactly.
selling to another audience that sees and hears your same stuff, but the room's getting money, the booker's making money, the venue's making money, and you're telling the same story.
Yes.
Eventually, you get to be like Andy, and you don't tell the same story every single week.
Well, that's debatable. I've been phoning it in for a while, so it's been the same. Yeah, it's cruise ship. You know it's different. Yeah, you know.
Oh, the people change. The people change.
Oh, we're gonna get that cruise ship again and go see that.
Yeah,
casino.
go see him again.
Ah, it's
Like,
the same set again.
Same ship, same trip.
Same guy, same shirt, everything.
They call the boat agency, the cruise ship. They're like, "Is Andy Beningo the comic on this trip? We need to know
Which
before we
boat
book
is
our
he on?"
ticket." Yeah, that's funny. So speaking of that, that is one of my goals. Is to make it to a cruise ship. I'm going to retire from my day job in the next 6 to 7 months.
Congrats,
I know Bill just retired within a week. I don't know what your goal is, Bill, moving forward. But Andy, when you got into this, was a cruise ship even on your radar?
No, it was sort of the opposite, you know. Like I think we were talking about this in the car. Like I was, it always had kind of like this stigma of like you're 80 years old wearing a Hawaiian shirt, you're doing the arms bit from vaudeville, you know, and you sort of go like, yeah, that exact shirt right there.
I got the shirt
with
on.
the flamingos.
The flamingos.
He's just got to age out a little bit more.
That's
He's
it.
got it.
That's it.
But that was my whole thing. I was like, I don't know, man. And so I was working a New Year's Eve show with a very funny comic from Denver. And he was just like, hey, I think you'd be good for cruises. And I was like, I don't know, man. And then he told me how much money it was. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll check it out.
Like,
So-
wait a minute.
Yeah, so then
it
you
once.
go and it's like you actually it's like a floating comedy club. There's
crazy.
You know, there's 200 or 300 people in the club, and then you traditionally do a show in a theater.
Yeah.
And the theater's like 1,000 seats.
Oh,
So you just go up and it's awesome, you
Yeah.
know, and you get to see the world and you
seen the
get to see
pictures,
different
man.
things, and so yeah, you get really spoiled. And then, like I said, it was almost like the opposite. Like the comics that I've seen on there, I'm like, why is this guy like not famous? Like this guy's a strong comic.
Seriously.
You know, guys to look up. Vince Acevedo is a buddy of mine from Chicago.
Okay.
Best crowd work comic I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
He'll do a different show just on working the crowd. Rodney Laney, Tom Foss, Steve Mazon. I mean, I'm leaving people out, but
Right.
just some of the guys I've seen, I'm just blown away by.
That's
So, I mean,
awesome.
It's comedy's hard, right? So it's you.
Yeah.
It's hard being funny in your local club.
Yep.
It's hard being funny across the state.
Yep.
It's even harder to get in like a 3-state radius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even harder to get in the Midwest.
Sure.
Harder to go national, and then
yeah.
the hardest I think is international,
Sure.
and that's what I think ships are, because you go on and they go, there's 40 different nationalities on board.
Right.
So let me get this straight. The three of us are here, and Andy Beningo is
I'm
here.
still in the 7-Eleven.
No, but
I'm still
you'll
in
get-
the aisles of 7-Eleven. I haven't even left the 7-Eleven yet.
But you'll get there.
I got the Twinkie and I got the Slim Jims in my hands.
You've seen my act. If I can do it, you can
Oh,
get
yeah.
there. So
That's so humble.
So,
of you.
but that's what I realized. It's hard because you go in and it's, hey, we have people from Canada, Australia, England, Ireland, France,
Wow.
Japan, India,
Yeah.
and they're all in the audience. Make them
And
laugh.
they
And you
give
have
you-
to somehow find some common thing that everybody from all around the world go, yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
So
Now, with the
there's-
shows on those ships, are they family oriented, 18 plus, 21 plus? Do they make you work clean?
You know, I mean, every ship's different. You know, every cruise line's different. I mean, for the most part, they want one family show, you
Okay.
know, which is kind of cleaner, 40, 45. And then they want you to have like an adult show.
Okay.
I don't really work dirty, so I just kind of I kind of make a joke about it. Like, yeah, I look like something you're making a Build-A-Bear. I'm not going to say anything dirty, but it's
Right,
still going to be
right.
fun, so come back.
Yeah,
And they come back and, you know, they still have fun.
That's
so it's like if
awesome.
you kind of set them up with, hey, this is my style.
Yeah.
And again, if they like you, they don't care if it's clean or dirty. Right?
Exactly.
They
right.
just go, that guy's funny. Let's
He's
go
funny.
see him.
Funny.
And that's all
Right.
they care about.
Yeah.
So,
See, now if I saw Bill in Tommy's shirt,
Yeah.
I would think
That would be a
I would
cruise
think
ship
he'd be
comic.
great Greg on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
I know your
absolutely.
material, Bill. I would think that,
Now if I see
would-
you show up in your outfit,
yeah.
I'll be locking the tires on my car.
they'd be making sure all their cabins are locked. Hey man, it is what it is.
It is what it is. No, you got to
Listen, all those cruise ships stop at my kind of island, so you're gonna see people that look like me at some point.
That's it.
Oh, it's like you follow people on social media, so obviously I follow Andy, and like every once in a while, like he'll post when he's off the ship because he gets a day off a ship, and he was in Puerto Rico recently.
That's right.
Yeah,
And I'm like, you're in my hometown, where I'm from.
Beautiful.
And so like it must be good to like get off a ship and see all these different things, because it's like, you're getting paid. You say, I'm getting paid to kind of be on vacation, but you are away from your family, so there's that part of it as well.
Yeah, there's a love-hate thing with it. It's you're gone, so you miss out on a lot of stuff. My son just started learning to ride his bike, so you kind of miss out stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Here's a sad part of this show.
yeah, it's not all butterflies.
Butterflies.
No,
We're gonna stop the
no,
sad music
Well,
in the background.
yeah, just a little tear coming down. And,
We can edit that in.
Of course, he is 23, but still, it's
Yeah,
impressive
he's
him riding his bike.
But no, I've been spoiled to see
Yeah.
just stuff that I never thought I'd be able to go see, and
Right.
just for telling jokes. So it's
Yeah.
not a bad, it's
That's
not a bad,
true.
I don't have the cruise ships bringing me places, but I do travel with my
Yeah.
job, and I have the same thing. I'm away from my family, so what I try to do is wherever I go, I try to do something historical, or I try to see something, or a landmark or something that's kind of cool. And my goal is, I'm 38, but I plan to go back to all these places and either bring my wife or my kids with me
Absolutely.
to them. And because I've been there already, it's going to save me so much time in the process.
You already know where to go.
You're not
hot
lost.
spots.
Yeah.
exactly.
Or if it's not even worth it, you'd be like,
Right.
this is something that's not
Yep.
worth seeing. I
Right.
went, and
Yep.
it's not like a
Yeah,
family thing.
exactly. Like I literally was just in Fresno, right next to Yellowstone National Park,
Cool.
and I was 30 minutes from the sequoia trees. I could have drove 30 minutes to go see the huge trees. I chose not to. I did
Because you want to make it a family
it's
trip?
something my wife has always wanted to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want that mystery of awe
Yeah.
without her being there for
Yeah.
the first time. So it was weird. It's something like I feel Andy's paying for it. you
So
know?
Andy can't take a cruise ship that goes to his wife's dream vacation spot. He's
I
just
wouldn't
like,
recommend it.
He's like, I'm in Florida. He's sending me pictures from Italy.
No, I find some of the new comics, like they're doing really good. They got a good tailwind. They're doing really, really good. And then all of a sudden, recently, this is just me personally. I see some of them getting married, some of them having kids,
Yeah.
some doing this, some
Dumbasses.
and then but then you see like their productivity like getting
The
lower
social
and
media
lower and
is-
lower, and you're just like, all right, like I started this after all that.
Right.
Like, I don't have those roadblocks showing up. I already own, a property where I live. I already have the kids. I already have the job. I have all that stuff, and I'm fitting all this in as extra, right? So, the point of that conversation is, how did you find a barrier to break that in your comedy life with your family life? Like, how tough was that?
Yeah, I mean, like anything, you got to have balance, right? You can't be a beast and be out 52 weeks a year and have your kids not know who you are. So,
Right.
I mean, just to put it just bluntly, my wife is the sweetest person on the planet. I mean, she knows that this is my job, so
Yeah.
she knows it's a job. I'm not just goofing off on the road
Right.
or getting drunk and acting like an animal or something.
Hanging out in the basement with a
Making
bunch of
podcasts in the basement.
eating Domino's pizza with
Right,
garlic
right.
sticks. What about you, Bill? What doing it after the fact? Like, how did you you've done all that, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't have been able to do what I've been doing when my son was little, but he was already out of the house
Okay.
in college. My wife is a very dedicated teacher, so she is spending tons of time
Sure.
on her job, and so it wasn't like I was abandoning her in general.
That's
She's
cool.
a early to bed person. Most of the time I'm out, she's already in bed anyway.
It's perfect.
So yeah,
Tuck her in and just lock the door and you're out.
She's out.
Bill Douglas hosting tonight's open mic.
It's good to have a good gardener too.
Yeah,
Guy that'll come over and trim the bush.
The pool guy.
Yeah.
A pool guy, something like that.
Milkman. one
Bill,
of the
Bill
other.
doesn't even have a pool, but there's a pool van.
There's a pool guy. We don't have a
Confused
pool.
me too.
So, Bill, I know with your retirement, you're planning an international trip. Is there any mics that you're trying or comedy you're going to look into while you're over there?
I was talking to my wife, and my 24-year-old son said, "Is Dad going to try to do comedy?" So I was like, I would love to, but the limited time with my family over there, I am not going to
Yeah.
I'm going to abandon you for half the day to find an open mic in Helsinki.
Oh,
So I will
right.
no comedy those
No
days.
comedy for the
okay.
trip. Okay. How about other family trips? Has there ever been family trips where you're like, hey, there's a mic on a Tuesday night I can get
That's
on?
caused some friction.
Oh,
You know, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, well, I was just like, well, we're gonna go. It's
like,
your
that's-
relative. We're seeing your relatives. Can I just like buzz down to Portland? And I was like, Oregon.
I mean, I love your
was
Uncle
just kidding.
Bill,
I was just kidding.
but,
I wouldn't think
Bill's
of it.
like, I did 26 dates. 22 of those have been family vacations.
Well, you can write off that vacation if you do comedy.
Tell
you
me
know.
about
Right,
it.
there you go. Yeah.
That's the advantage. If I did one mic in Helsinki, that would save me a lot of money.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan.
That's funny. So what goals in like your comedy career, like for mine would be a cruise ship comic. I know I'm years out from that, so people who are watching this don't think I'm getting it next year. I know there's dues to pay. I'm willing to pay those dues. With Andy, I know one of the things you did within the last 3 or 4 years, I believe, was a dry bar special.
Yeah, that was great. I shot one when they were still doing like 45-minute specials and stuff. And
Was this before COVID or after you
right
shot?
before COVID, I think it was 2019. I think it was, and yeah, it was nice. You get a lot of nice comments, and
Your view
awesome.
count right now is
6 or 7 million something.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
he says it like
Well, I mean,
come
other
on.
people have like 20 million, whatever. It's nice. It's nice that people, for the most part, has been positively reviewed. And,
That's great.
not to be braggy, but it was funny because I got a little alert on my phone, and they said that they were playing the special in Australia,
Nice.
which I just thought was like that's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, it is.
So it's opened up some opportunities. Right. I mean, it's definitely gotten me some corporate stuff and some other things. So
Huge.
So you think it's Australia because of your name joke?
I think
I think it
but
is. Yeah, that could
it's,
be
I
like
mean,
a-
I don't want to brag. They were playing it at like 2:00 in the morning. So I mean, nobody's probably watching it, but I'm still like, I'm a big deal over there. Trying to show up like, it's like probably nobody watched it, but it's
Mr.
still
International.
It's still kind of cool to say. So, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, nice.
So that's good to have a special like that. I'm sure it helps you with to feed people into that are like corporate gigs and things like
or just audiences. Sometimes it's nice when you have people come to the shows on purpose. It's just not random people.
Right.
It's like people that saw it and enjoyed you enough
I
to
know
bring
you.
families
Yeah.
or whatever. So you have a very, very small fan base, but it's nice that you get people that come out on purpose, and hopefully it builds into other things that you like, whether it's a short film or whatever. It's cool.
Well, you move around. You do comedy in a vast area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it's hard to build that, but in Boston, we have some local legends that are out every night of the week, and they always bring in a big crowd.
Yeah.
And it seems like 50 to 75% of the audience is their return customers. That just
Absolutely.
continue.
Yeah.
So it must be hard being around so far, not having that consistent staying in a local area as like they do. That you won't see those people that often as you would as if you were
building a local base.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have a small local base in Michigan. So if I go do Ann Arbor or something,
They'll come,
they'll come out.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of my stuff now is just like private stuff, like corporate stuff, or
Yep.
some church event fundraisers.
Sure.
So you kind of build an audience from those people, but
Yep.
I also found like people aren't going to, at least in my experience, people aren't going to see you 4 times a year.
Right.
So a year, if I come and do this,
Yep.
and then come back a year is just about right to where people
That's
go,
perfect.
hey, we saw him last year.
Let's go again.
Well, let's go and bring our friends. So you slowly, that's the whole goal is slowly get more and more numbers as you come back. So
Yes.
They have to like you this year to come back next year.
Well,
Do they say, let's give them a second shot?
that's why I always. That's why I'm moving around so much.
That's why you wait a year.
I eat it and they go, I'm not going back there.
Can't hit a moving target. Then they see, they go, I think I saw this guy last year.
That's why I'm on the ocean so much. I'm hiding.
I don't want to brag, Tommy, but I was on a show in the last week,
Yeah.
and 50% of the audience,
Oh,
that
here
is
we go.
one of the 2 people were there to see me.
Yes. Pre-bought. They pre-bought their ticket.
50%.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Like we're here for,
They came to see
job.
me.
they're here for Bill
One at a time.
Douglas.
It was your
All you need,
wife
one
and
at
your
a
son.
What he doesn't know is he doubled his audience size.
That's right.
They see the flyer next
People
year.
that
They're
aren't
like,
in this
hopefully
room,
that
I'm
Mr.
kidding.
Roo guy isn't on again. I'll see you one more time if he doesn't have Sean on
Oh,
it.
man.
Out of here. Oh, was my first time in that. It was my second time performing in that state, but my first time in that town for sure. Man, a nice little town, but like, I felt like I went back 40 years in time.
I built a yogurt plant in that town.
Yeah?
I
Did
did
you?
a job I built, you know, the Fage, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I built a yogurt plant in
That looks like
Brattleboro.
that looks like a yogurt town.
Yeah, it's a cute town. I mean, like I said, it's a nice place, and you know, it's always tough too. I mean, summer's a tough sell too. So it's
they got
we'll chalk
super
up for that.
flooded a couple of years ago. They had major river flooding through that whole town, like destroyed everything down the whole downtown area.
Way to kill the vibe.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Way to bring that up.
Back to the soundtrack.
Bill, is there any interest in hitting all 50 states?
Yeah, I'm a little over halfway, 26.
Yeah.
But I love traveling anyway, even if I wasn't for comedy. And I think I might try doing homeschool conferences for science.
Okay.
And so if I can go to Oklahoma and do a homeschool conference and teach science, then I can maybe try to hit.
So is this
Mike's
remotely?
That's huge.
Remotely teach?
No. I would go to conferences.
Oh, to
homeschoolers
okay.
tend to have a harder time teaching science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And physical science, which is what I do. So I thought people have said, there's a call for physical science teachers.
That's
so I might
awesome.
just do that
Yeah.
and travel for that. Although there's a lot more stuff to bring than comedy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
You can
hiring
be
a
a prop
tutor?
comic.
Can you imagine hiring a tutor and then like you look on Facebook and like the guy's doing comedy that night in your town?
As long as I don't flip up which one I'm doing.
You take the wrong suitcase.
Is there a state you really want? I mean, I'm sure Alaska's or Hawaii, like those have to be the hardest ones. I'm assuming.
Well,
right?
obviously hardest to get. It's tough to drive to Hawaii, I found. But
Yeah.
that's the only state I haven't actually been in. So I mean, there's obviously, my wife loves coming to see me, but she would go to Hawaii not to see me, but she would allow me to do it if I took her to Hawaii.
Right. I don't know if does a 10-minute set in Hawaii give you the tax write-offs?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
technically,
Oh, yeah.
you
Well, you're
technically
performing,
performed.
so
You're
right?
practicing.
Yeah. Right.
I wish
I was thinking about doing just like an open mic in the Helsinki airport and having it videoed. It's like,
do it,
that
yeah.
counts.
bring a battery mic and just stand in the middle of the airport.
Yeah, get the
give
little
it a free
headset
show.
with the
Hat
speaker.
down,
like
pop-up comedy, man. That little ambush. Just
Pop-up
people
comedy,
are
I like
eating,
that.
and he's just going up to him. What's the deal with it?
TSA
probably go
takes me
viral.
away and finish.
That's a shot.
Finish.
Start an Instagram account. You're the pop-up comic. And
Yeah, the one thing Bill doesn't have, I make reels for every show I'm on, both the before and after. I always tag, as you know,
Yep.
and it's kind of like a little advertisement, helps the promoters and the bookers out. Bill Douglas is the only comic I work with a lot that I can't tag on Instagram.
No handles.
Well, I got my a new cell phone though, but the string has to be taut,
Yeah, you moved
so it's hard
you
when
moved
I'm
on
traveling.
from moved on from the flip phone.
Yeah,
His Bell Atlantic.
my soup can string telephone works great, low cost. It just I can't do the Instagram stuff.
Yeah, like
love
this. What's your Instagram handle? Let me look up how many followers and some material you have. You're like Facebook only.
Yeah, I can barely do that.
Oh, so like Andy has the link to his dry bar special, which I'm sure like that is something you put out when people are asking for material. Like
Yeah, use it. I mean, there's a couple different reels I have just from other corporate events. That sometimes they want to see you in a tie or something.
Sure.
All that stuff's kind of hidden on YouTube or whatever. So it's you just send different links for different venues or events or whatever. So I think that's what I noticed is bookers want to see you perform in the type of thing you're being hired for.
Gotcha.
So it's like if you're going to perform in a club, send them a club set. If you're going to perform at a church fundraiser, show that. A corporate show where you're in a suit, send that. So it's good to have just, you could use the same material. Just have,
Different
just they want to visualize.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even, never even thought of that.
so in our car ride the other day, one of the things you were saying is when you first started getting booked as a headliner for comedy, your second cruise was overseas, correct?
Yeah. It was overseas. Yeah. Which was, I think, one of the reasons I stuck with it, because it's, you're used to playing the Midwest for a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden you're out in Copenhagen and, walking around and stuff. And so,
cool.
yeah, I get to bounce around and get to see a lot of cool stuff. And so the Europe trip's great because you go like Copenhagen, Amsterdam, England, Ireland, France,
Wow.
and Azores. And then it's 5 days across the ocean, so people are starting to get sick. They're throwing up, and it's just the seas are rough, so you could feel the morale in the comedy club. First couple nights, it's this guy's good, he's awesome, and then they're all sick and they're tired of it. They want to get home. So it's the same people.
That's funny.
It's interesting because you're literally living with your audience.
Yeah.
So if it goes well, that guy's the man. If it doesn't go well, you got to kind of put a hat on and try to avoid everybody because you got to look at you like, is that the chubby guy from the comedy show? You're like,
grabbing an ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got 3 nights left.
So awkward. So it can be a challenge, but
one of the things I asked you that I didn't know is you never were on a cruise ship until your first show. So how would you know that, like, if you weren't great, like feeling good out on the seas? Mm-hmm. You're the only comic on the ship.
Right. Yeah, it was a lot of those little pressure point wristbands I had, motion sickness, but it worked out good. It was good. A lot of Gatorade stock up just to be safe, but yeah, it worked out okay. It's like I said, I do a handful of them a year. I do like a lot of theaters and corporate stuffs, but cruises are the one that I think most people are at least curious about for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like any other gig. It's just.
I mentioned your name to my parents when I was when we were kind of planning this out.
Oh, nice.
And I asked them to check you out. My mom, she's like, I watched Andy's videos. He's so funny.
Oh, thank you. That's my audience, moms.
I told you. I think she watched the dry bar. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
so that was
man.
No,
Very
I mean
nice.
it was.
She's like, Tom, my son will never be that funny.
It's on his
Why
way.
can't you be funny like this, Tommy?
Tommy's next cruise, he's just going to stand at the edge of the pool and do a set and be like, I made it, Mom, I made it.
No, you guys are all kind of in a unique situation where it's a little ways out for me unless something crazy happens. But for me, it's a grind still. I'm still too young for retirement years. I have too much liability to go full in on comedy at this moment, so you guys being here for this is kind of something that I find that I cherish. The podcast thing, I know it's fairly new. We put a lot of effort into doing it, and we hope to get up to some good followings, but like for right now,
Hey, we'll have more followers than Bill's last show.
Well, I just was just listening to Andy talk about kind of not really blaming things on the last 5 days across the Atlantic with the morale, and I had a similar experience at one of my last shows, and I thought it could have been like the seasickness.
Sure.
And he didn't. I said, why not? And he goes, it was in the middle of Madison, Wisconsin. So I don't know. He's such, know-it-all at age whatever he is. So I just want to point that out. I mean,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, the crazy thing is he does whatever you do 5-6 cruises a year, and like your home base is in the middle of the country. You're nowhere near.
Nowhere close to water. Yeah.
No,
Not even close. Great Lakes, I guess. I don't know, but
Yeah.
You do any booze cruises across the Great Lakes?
Oh, never did. That's what's interesting because like the cruise audiences, it's just you never know what you're gonna get. I feel like I play better to like old retired people. My act is very kind of, let's say, like innocent, but it's just pretty mainstream. But then sometimes these late night shows on the cruises, they want kind of a party vibe. So be honest, fellas, I eat it pretty hard on those.
On the late ones.
Yeah, and then it gets pretty awkward the next day,
Hiding in his room, calling his wife.
Oh, exactly. Get me the hell off this thing, Oh, my God.
That's so funny.
The highs and lows with anything else.
One of the two things I admire from these guys is no one, I don't know, on earth, and Andy has been a comic for a long time, no one on earth critiques themselves or has the notes that Bill has on every one of his jokes that he uses for.
Are you saying that's when you ask me how long my set's going to be, and I say 55 minutes plus or minus 7 seconds? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
He did that to me yesterday. I was like, how much time are you going to go? And he goes, I planned it out at 16 minutes, 23 seconds, but... And I go, you have it down with a second.
Yeah, when somebody laughs, it throws me way off. But I don't have to worry about that.
He's got a rule book. He's got a grading system.
He does.
It's impressive.
I know.
Impressive,
I know. It's awesome.
And then he has it all, like he has it so he can type in like 22-minute set and it prints out, and then he has all of his jokes graded everywhere he's been. And one of the things, we were in the car together for 2 hours each way yesterday for a show. And one of the things Andy told me is he writes down every single venue he's been with and every single comic he's worked with.
Yeah, it's I'm a big stats nerd, so we were laughing. I always loved hockey cards as a kid, so they have all the little numbers and stuff of all the stats. So when I started, it was just a big spreadsheet of here's I basically say the spot that I did, the town, the venue, and then the comics that I was with, and then
Wow.
the date. So
That's
it's all in a big
awesome.
spreadsheet. But
That's
this
amazing.
guy, man, he's got it down to
A
a
science?
second.
science.
It's impressive.
Like a science?
You should make a program up
I
for
know.
all comics to have that system.
Build an
You just
app.
have to be honest with yourself because it's like an honest rating.
And then I feel bad because he's like, I got it down to the second. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I was just gonna wing it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what jokes I'm doing. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's funny watching
Makes me
people's
feel bad.
style because there's a comedian that Tommy and Sean and I know well, Chris, and I'll have it that I'm kind of going through it, and he's like, all right, what am I going to do? And he just like finds an envelope, and he's great.
He's doing our producing right now.
No, I said and Chris, not Chris. I said great comedian. But anyway,
Great.
yeah. So just like they have it, just they don't even really know what and they're going to be like featuring or headlining. They don't exactly know what jokes. I'm like, oh my god, I know every joke I'm doing for the open mic.
Right.
Oh,
right.
definitely.
Well, like in
But you
my
get
in
to
my
a point.
position, yeah, you get to a point like in my where I only have 20, 25 minutes, probably love 20 of it. Like the crowds are gonna get that if I'm doing a 20-minute spot with a little bit of leeway. Where like I think someone like Andy or when you have a lot and you're doing, can you look at a crowd or maybe watch the comics that went on before you and be like, on a cruise ship you don't have that luxury, but on a show like you're doing. Can you watch the first two, or do you not even worry
no,
about?
I mean, well, first of all, I'll say there's nothing better than being like Bill and being prepared. So you want to be prepared. You never want to just go, hey, I'm gonna wing it or
Right.
whatever. It's like even if you say you are, you should have at least, hey, I'm gonna open with this, close with this.
Yeah.
In the middle,
Chris,
you can always
Chris is so mad at you right now.
yeah, you can always flip through that Rolodex of here's what I'm gonna grab and pick. But yeah, with the cruises, it's tough because it's like you kind of have to go in an order because you're doing two different 45 minutes usually, and then
Right.
another set. So it's like almost like a chess match of
Okay.
this joke needs to be in this show, this joke needs to be in this
Gotcha.
show. And if you move that one, all right, now you're crossing stuff. So it's every week you're going through your notebook, going, I think I did that one, that joke. So it's
Gotcha.
It's a whole different beast, when
Yeah.
you're doing that much. But yeah, to this day, I still kind of know. All right, I'm going to open with this, and I can pick and choose in the middle and at least close on that. But yeah, a lot of times you look out and you go, I'm older, so I'll go into marriage stuff, or if they're younger, I can go with this way,
Yep.
or
Yep.
kind of pick and choose.
That's awesome. That is, it's such an art form. It's such a talent to
Right.
get to that point. And do you still do notes, or how do you keep track of jokes when you come up with something?
Yeah, a lot of times it's so the main act is kind of already in the brain just
Yep.
because I've done it for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
Probably longer than I should, but then I have just a stat. It's like anybody else. I have a set list of new stuff.
Yep.
So the idea is, all right, I'm going to win them over and do whatever 15, 20 minutes so they like you, and then you can start going off the cheat sheet in your head going, all right, I'm going to do that, that, and that.
Yep.
If it goes well, great. If it doesn't go well, you can still go, all right, well, I've got 20 more minutes of stuff at the end
Gotcha,
that I can win them back. So
Gotcha.
I don't think when you're doing longer sets, I don't think they're going to hate you if
Yeah.
5 minutes is just testing the
Right,
waters on
right.
stuff. So,
That makes sense.
you just sneak it in the middle, or try to do something new at least every show, whether it's a joke or a tag or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So it's been great having guests on for the first time during this episode.
It's been fantastic.
And-
I was getting
for
so
having
sick
us.
of you,
Yeah.
Sean.
I know.
So sick of
After
you.
2 episodes, he's like, "Bring on guests, please." I'm like, "Andy's in town."
No, we're super honored and grateful the fact that you took time out of your trip out here. I know you like to sightsee and you like to do a lot of things, so it's a beautiful sunny day on the coast of New Hampshire. So I personally want to say thank you to you and Bill. I know you guys have been touring kind of the area, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just an honor.
My pleasure. Always fun sitting down with comics, goofing
Yeah.
off. Anytime we get to see this guy, it's the best.
Oh,
so
Bill.
it's been
Absolutely.
fun, buddy.
Thanks
Yeah,
for having us. you
Just
guys.
remember, he's retired now.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Your phone might be
Yeah,
blowing
like
See,
a
that's what I'm
bad
saying.
penny.
You guys are blocking my sight saying this guy had nothing to do until 7 o'clock at night tonight. So, hey.
I feel like me and Andy, you're the only two that I'm gonna be retired. What's going on here? I gotta keep working. You guys keep bragging about your retirements.
Andy doesn't though. When I bring up Andy's like, "I'll do this forever."
Oh, yeah, I'll be performing until I'm 90 if I'm lucky.
I love that.
So,
I
yeah.
really do.
If there was like a dream gig, I think I know what it is without saying it for you. But if there was like a dream venue that was gonna sell out with your name on it, where would it be? I'm going to see if I'm guessing.
Besides the music hall in Portsmouth, New
New
Hampshire,
Hampshire?
with 3 tickets left.
Why are you laughing at that? That's awesome.
I would love to do Little Caesars Arena,
Which is
Okay.
where the Red Wings play.
I knew that's what I was going to say. I knew it.
That'd be sick. If
I
I was
knew it.
famous, that'd be amazing.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So you work towards that. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you start with the Portsmouth City Music Hall.
Yeah, it's slow. It's a slow build, baby, but it's gonna get there one day.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Bill, do you have a place that
Stranger
would be
Things.
like?
Almost the same as Andy, only mine's back in this basement with Sean.
I was gonna say Packers Stadium. I thought that's what you were gonna
Lambeau.
say. Lambeau.
Outdoor
Lambeau,
show,
yeah.
Lambeau
Yeah.
Field.
He
That's where I
picks
took my wife on our first year anniversary.
Is that right?
Yeah,
to
we
a
were back
game?
in Madison, and I got something special. She's like, and I took her and a friend
Oh, all
to
right.
Lambeau Field for a tour, and I told her we were going there, and she's like, please tell me you're not serious. But it was already too late. My friend's already over. She goes, oh my God, he really is taking me to Lambeau Field for our 1 year anniversary.
Nice.
Set the bar
Kill
high.
two birds with one
Set the
stone.
bar
Yeah,
high.
see you later. I love it.
Boy, I want to say I took my wife. It was either year 1 or year 2 to a comedy festival. So I think you've got me beat though. So
Doghouse from that one.
Oh,
yeah.
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 Yeah, it wasn't like Bill was playing football that day.
Yeah.
Oh man. Speaking of comedy festivals, the Montreal one is not happening this year, but you might be traveling up there.
Yeah, I'm going to be back in Canada in February 2025. Really excited. It's
Nice.
this big date night tour. It's
Okay.
this big tour of these mega churches.
Nice.
And every show is amazing. I did it right before the pandemic. We literally did it February of 2020,
Yep.
and then March of 2020, everything got shut down.
Oh,
so
I know.
it was honestly the most fun I've ever had doing comedy. It was
Wow.
a
Yeah.
grind. It's like 14 cities in 14 days throughout
Wow.
5 Canadian provinces. So it's just you're going.
Wow.
But the guys that run the festival, or not the festival, but the tour,
Yeah.
Eric Spath is just a great dude. Tour manager Joe is just super funny, just an easy hang.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to getting up there. And it's a lot of hockey markets. You know me,
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
big hockey nerd.
Yeah.
So it's, Toronto and Winnipeg and Edmonton. So
Yep. Yep.
just going to be thrilled to be back up
Right.
there.
That's
to
awesome.
enjoy
Now, with
it.
comedy being your main job, how was the pandemic for you?
I mean, it's weird. It was like anybody else. You talk about feeling useful. Like everybody else, you're kind of like, what the heck is going on? And you
Yeah,
get a little bit of
right.
depression. But I tried to, for the most part, put that mask on. I tried
Zoom comedy? Or?
Tried sketches. I tried doing a lot of little sketches with my family just to
Okay.
kind of make other people laugh. And people
Sure.
are like, "Oh, you're doing such a great job." And
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes the comedian thing in you is you go, you got that mask of.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm smiling, but I'm kind of hurting a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's something I was really proud of. Is just
That's
the
awesome.
messages from people going, hey, thanks for cheering me up or
That's
whatever.
cool.
And so it's why you do comedy. So,
Right.
Yep.
but we made it. Now we're having fun,
Right,
getting out
exactly.
on the road
We're
again.
back.
So it's
Yeah.
good.
I feel like comedy got, as far as people, I started writing when comedy hit. I was going to take a comedy class at Laugh Boston in Boston, and the month I joined was the month that so I had to wait
COVID.
about 10 months. I had to wait about 10 months to do it in person. So I just took that time to write, and then when I got back into class, like they said, like the explosion of comedy and mics of restaurants and venues that were welcoming comedy as a way to kind of make up for the loss that they had during those 2 years. One of the things I want to touch on real quick is my wife is a teacher, and I can ask Bill this, and then I can ask Tommy and Andy this from the other perspective of it. She did not like teaching over Zoom. She was definitely in person. Bill, how was that for you guys?
I didn't know how bad it was while I was doing it because I was doing it for the year. That's all I knew.
Right.
And then last year, we had a snow day on a teacher day, and so we had to do Zoom. So we did the teacher day by Zoom, and it was almost like flashbacks. I don't think I could do it again.
It's PTSD almost.
It's just like you're fighting with kids. They turn off their camera,
Right.
but then you talk to the parent. The camera's fine. They're late to class. They're it's like trying to engage them, trying to show demonstrate.
Right.
But I did it for a year, and I had a friend in Wisconsin who also was doing it, and we would call each other. It's like we made it through September. Oh my God, we made it through September.
Right.
Wow.
Now
And
on the
you
other
never thought as a teacher a gift was being in a classroom with students. That's kind of what.
Right.
And
No, but
then
it's
when
in
you had
person.
that taken away, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if I would be able to do it again. Honestly, a year, Zoom.
Yeah, it's a lot. Now, Tommy and Andy, on the other end of it, you had kids that were home the whole time to teach Zoom. Were you ready for them to go back?
Well, you know, for myself personally, I was just happy because I was finally off the road and actually could spend time with them. You know, even though we were kind of in this little fish bowl of
Right.
just not being able to do stuff. I mean, you try to look at positives and,
That's true.
and things that are awful. So, you know, that's something that I really cherished, was getting to spend time with
time.
family and stuff. And
So
be home,
such a PC answer, man. Tommy was thinking of going the
had
opposite
no-
way.
I had no days off with the pandemic being an electrician. I was a facility electrician, so
Right.
we basically were told you have to show up no matter what. They gave us
Yeah.
5 days off because we matched one of our other facilities, and then they were like, "Yeah, we can't have you not here anymore. You have to show up."
Essential worker.
Yep. Anytime you want to come, you just got to do your 8 hours. Just don't come to the shop. Just punch your card whenever you feel like it.
Right.
Punch it when you leave. And here's your job task. You'll be sitting on your locker. Have a good day.
Was your wife ready for the kids to go back to school in person?
Oh, hell yeah. She was dying for them to go back. But it was funny. When she went back, she actually picked up a job as being a kindergarten teacher kindergarten para assistant with the kindergarten grade after the pandemic. And they went through like 1 year of kids that were actually in a daycare style schooling, and then you had the children that were not in anything, in kindergarten was their first day in school. She did it for 1 full year, and she started that second year with the kids that had no training and were stuck at home during COVID
Right.
with their parents that did this and stuck food in front of them for 12 hours a day. Those kids came into class, and those, I don't want to say anything bad, but
No, right, no,
there's
no.
still
Catch up. There's playing catch up.
there's still something in the system that's working its way through right now. That group of children.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of teacher bashing over the,
I'm not
years,
bashing any
obviously. No, I'm not
teachers.
talking.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying in
no.
general, there's a lot of teacher bashing nationally,
wasn't.
historically.
Tommy Wire's
There was
teacher
a
basher.
short time
I love
during
all
the
my- I
pandemic
just put a post
when
up for all my
teachers were like,
teachers.
He did.
when parents realized how annoying a lot of their kids were.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like thankfulness for teachers.
Oh, my God.
It didn't last long after the pandemic,
Right.
but for a while it's like,
No.
oh, the bashing stopped. It's like
I give you guys so
now
much
you're
credit.
teaching your own kids.
Chris,
guys-
was your job? What was your job during the pandemic? Was it affected?
I was a food service director at a nursing home.
Oh, so it's
I
essential.
had a cook quit in March, and I couldn't replace him for a year and a half.
Were you?
I had
Were you in the
several
kitchen?
people. Yeah, I was in the kitchen constantly.
Oh.
I worked 6 a.m. to 7:30. I did breakfast, lunch, and dinner the majority of the time.
Yeah,
I
elderly
had 2
homes.
cooks instead of 4. Like,
Yeah.
people quit diet aids. They're like high school students. They're like, we don't have to work.
Well, the fear of some of the
Yeah,
people.
someone just had a baby, and she's like, I'm not coming into this place.
Yeah, at that
you
point,
know.
because
Well, they
there's so
didn't
much unknown that
Yeah.
people are just leaving that. Who would
they
have thought Chris? Who would have
incentivized
thought
it.
Chris had to go into work to feed
Yeah.
the people?
Yeah. Well, regardless of facts, we could go down a really dark path here, but we're not going to. We're going to. So it was good, though. I was really happy. My kids actually excelled at it on the computer learning. I don't know if you guys have any of the experience with your kids or any of your students that you saw kids that actually excelled at it and came out of it either in a better position than before.
Some kids like to be home because they were often victims of bullying.
Oh, wow.
So they
That's
kinda-
a new
they were kind of
perspective I
afraid
never
to go
thought
back.
of. Wow. That's incredible.
I would think there would be more kids that regressed and excelled, so that's probably a testament to your wife and yourself
Oh,
and the family.
she's good.
But most kids not excel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the.
No, there's
My wife teaches the younger kids, and it wasn't the same as in person.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But so
all
those
good,
kids
though.
might turn out to be comics.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that either. We still love them.
Yeah,
We
that's right.
the show's about to wrap up, everybody. We're gonna
We so appreciate our guest today. We appreciate Chris being on the
Thank you
ones and
so
twos.
much. Yeah.
He's kind of like DJ'd this for us today.
I know Jay is gonna be appreciative of you. We appreciate you very much, Christopher.
You're welcome, and if it doesn't look good, it's not my fault.
Yeah. Before we sign off, Chris, why don't you give us your handle? Where can people find you and your comedy? Do you have an Instagram handle?
Yeah, it's Chris Cameron comedian or comedian Chris. I don't remember.
Wow, this guy's nailing it.
On point. On point.
I'll tell you
That's
this.
all right, Chris. I'll throw it up on the picture.
I got it.
He has to look up his own handle. Well, I'll tell you this right now.
I'm
Bill,
old.
You will
Chris
not,
Cameron comedy. I said it right the first time.
At least he's got one. That's all I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
I have one.
if you're looking
I
for
don't know
Bill,
how to use it no more than
Yeah,
Bill.
come on,
but
Bill.
If you're looking
Come
for
on,
Bill Douglas, you will not find him on Instagram. But
Yeah.
Bill Douglas is on Facebook.
Facebook,
You will find him
yeah.
on Facebook. And Andy, your handles would be?
Yeah, I think it's just at Bingo Comedy on Instagram, and then I believe the same on Facebook. So
Or just
yeah.
Google Andy
Yeah,
Beningo.
just type in my name.
All right.
Yeah, Andy
perfect.
Beningo's on. Just Google Andy Beningo.
I'm gonna throw it up on the screen while we have this on this
Yeah.
YouTube in case, anyways. So, but I personally want to say thank you both for coming
Yes,
out.
guys,
You guys
great.
are awesome, great to hang
pleasure.
around with, good people, good friends, and
Have a
you know,
great
this
show
is
tonight.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
thanks for having me.
Thank you,
I
Chris.
appreciate it.
All right, yeah, we are.
Chris is here for the pizza.
Oh yeah,
In the candy bars.
pizza.
That's Bill.
why.
Bill's on the candy bars. And this is Real or No Real special episode. My name is Mr. Rue. These guys have been great, and we'll see you on the other side. For now, let's
Thank you
keep
all
it
for having
real.
us. Yeah, keep it real.